Romantic by Julia Guzzio. Childhood. While using her hands to sift through the stones that make up the bay's rocky shore, Dahlia quietly hums. The small stones drop into the water as they slide through her nimble fingers, and enjoys the warm summer breeze. She feels like a sorcerer summoning the future, the past, and all the desires within. Dahlia remembers when her father taught her how to skip smooth, round, flat stones across the quiet surface of a pond. As she studies a similar-looking rock in her hand, she decides to place it into her summer dress pocket. Dahlia notices, even with the breeze, the bay is still as pond water. Adulthood. Being your daughter has been a roaring storm these past few months, Dahlia thinks to herself at her father's wake. It wasn't always that way. She is staring at her father's closed casket, trying not to think of him as a lifeless shell in a box. Her mother sits quietly in a chair, close by to her, in the now empty chair-filled room. How did Dad know so many people? Dahlia contemplates. She wants to ask her mom, but she is almost asleep in a chair, and it's not the right time. She continues wondering. There were countless hands, and she and her mom shook today, and most of them were either vague memories or meeting them for the first time. It's also unbelievable how many family members came out of the woodwork for today. If I tallied how many relatives said, "I remember you as a baby," there would not be enough paper in my notebook. Childhood. Dahlia stops the hammock from swaying with the tips of her toes and lifts herself out. She sees a woman that seems familiar. The mysterious woman asks Dahlia, "Do you remember me?" Dahlia keeps looking at the woman's face and replies, "I remember you as an emotion from a long time ago." "What do you feel while looking at me?" the woman asks. Dahlia breathes in slightly and thinks. She focuses on the woman's eyes that are glassy and full of longing. Dahlia replies without fear, "I feel that you are love before I was taught the words for it." The woman smiles, tilts her head from side to side. She opens her mouth as if to speak, and slowly closes her lips. Dahlia shifts her weight from one foot to the other. She wonders, what is the name of this woman, who I do not fear? Dahlia quietly clears her throat and starts to ask, "What is your?" The woman interrupts her and says, "It's okay if you do not fully remember me. It was a long time ago." Dahlia starts to walk towards the woman and stretches out her hand as to touch the mysterious person. The woman steps away and turns, avoiding Dahlia's grasps. "I must go now," she says, with her back to Dahlia, while continuing to walk away. Dahlia stands stunned by the rejection. Adulthood. The boats quietly float in their places in the harbor as Dahlia and Richard walk on the dimly lit pier. Their hands are lightly clasped together, and Dahlia is wondering how long to wait till she asks him to meet her parents. She's hoping that their relationship won't be stalled to simply a short lover's cruise, with one excursion and nothing more. Dahlia catches his profile in the light as his reddish-brown hair wisps around his forehead in the brisk air, and imagines him as captain on a sailboat. Richard notices her admiring gaze and smiles gently. He then unclasps his hand and wraps his arm around her shoulders. Dahlia thinks, now or never. She stops nuzzling his arm and looks up at him and says, "Will you meet my parents? My father is older, and I would like him to have known you before and how we feel about each other." Richard looks directly into her hopeful eyes and replies, "Okay. Do they like wine?" Childhood. Dahlia enjoys the simple pleasure of listening to her winter boots crunch in the freshly fallen snow. She stops and looks at her hammock. She thinks about a childhood friend that moved away, who also enjoyed laying in the hammock with her. She wonders where her other childhood friends are now. I miss my friends the same way trees miss their leaves in the winter. My friends and I will eventually see each other the same way leaves return in the spring. She ponders.